Hey guys, Matt Dog here with another video. Today I'm doing some weird synergies between Eldlich and Labrynth. So I've got 5 replays to show off. First one against Kashtira. And then I actually have 3 different deck lists that I want to show off. Um, we're going to get some really interesting cards, namely Ty-PHON and the new Omni Negate trap in on the 10th. Uh, so I'm not going to go all the way up to Master 5 quite yet because I feel like there's going to be a lot of experimenting to do. But for now, I just want to show off these interesting synergies. So you'll notice we're running, what is this? Big Welcome Labrynth. Yeah, so I'm running kind of a Labrynth Eldlich decks, trying to experiment, see what ratios end up working. We have some really fun duels that I go into, and I'm going to show off 3 different replays. So here, obviously, this is pretty straightforward. You pop the a Rise Heart before you can shuffle back. We summon a Malong. And Big Welcome into Lovely is nice because it's basically an interruption. You can pop a card. They're going to try to use Fenrir to banish the only Lovely that we have. Obviously, you have to flip it face down. Because it's face down, we can activate spell cards at will. We have Diabell Star, probably get rid of the rollback, set the Omni Negate, and they're toast. GG. Yeah, so that was kind of just a showcase of what Labrynth can do. Because for Eldlich, obviously, you have the old Elixir and the Golden Land trap into a Conquistador or Waquero to get an interruption, but we were able to get an interruption off of 1 card. Alright, so next duel versus Unchained. Okay, let's see how that goes. So that is kind of the thing that I'm hoping that Eldlich gets if they get new support, is basically a new Eld Elixir that can do what Big Welcome does for the Labrynth deck, where you just have 1 trap that can start triggering effects that you want to activate, rather than needing to have 2 separate traps in order to get into an interruption. Something, or maybe like a new Golden Land trap that is like if you don't currently control an Eldritch, summon one from your deck, and then you can whatever banish a card from the field or something. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. All right, obviously we have Unchained. They're popping off. They're doing their thing. We haven't seen Eldritch and Lab at the same time quite yet, but some of the duels will show that. All right, so Unchained is really, they're doing their full combo, I guess. So that's like an interruption. Okay, so what do they actually have here? They have the trap that lets them pop one of our cards, so that's going to be annoying. They have this, which is sort of like a solemn strike. Okay, like a pretty reliable solemn strike, get rid of a monster or spell a trap effect that includes a special summon. Okay. And then this, they can basically link off one of our cards, quick effect. So they have like 3 interruptions. That's not bad. Okay, yes, you already know. They do have ways to play around, getting hit with evenly matched though. Like you see, they pop their own card, and a lot of their cards have effects once they get popped. Rollback. Let's see what we hit. Or sorry, grass. I probably could have done grass first, but I don't know. Maybe they would have some interruption or way to deal with it. Okay, they are probably just gonna try really hard to pop the field spell. Is that what they want to do? Yeah, in general, going up against Lab, you pop the field spell and you banish Lovely. So, yeah, honestly, we kind of just have Karma Cannon here. I think this is when I was running the full Labrynth version. So we're going to talk more about this later, but you notice how I was able to resolve Grasp? I don't think I actually got any value off of it. Like, that's one thing that Eldlich has that over Labrynth is they get way more value off of activating Grass than I think that Labrynth does. Okay, they had Ash Blossom. Would have been nice if they had that last turn. Also, we can just negate the Ash Blossom with the trap, and next turn we can shuffle the trap back and draw a card. So yeah, they're in huge trouble here. And we drew a foolish bill of goods, so we can send a rollback to banish their entire field face down. Oh my god. Goodbye. And then we have Labrynth. We're probably gonna grab like just some random card, mostly because we want to have fuel to discard Diabell Star. Yeah, we trigger all of the furniture there. So that's when we're finally starting to get value off of that grass, right? We start having the cards trigger in the grave and they just surrender. So pretty straightforward duels, I guess, so far. What is this? Snake Eyes? Okay. I think this is when I started doing more of the hybrid version because what Labrynth does is, especially with Arius and Lady, you can search out traps in your deck much easier and activate traps from your hand on your opponent's turn, which are really powerful and synergize well with the trap deck that we're running. Ooh. So they ashed the pot, which is unfortunate. See, now we see the difference between Labrynth and Eldlich resolving grass is here we resolve it and we get a non-targeting destroy. In addition to, obviously, we have a few furniture engrave, which will come out once we um, do some sort of a normal trap to destroy their cards. We also are going to get a draw at some point, hopefully, and we have a rollback to copy a Karma Cannon. Okay, so not bad. We also have the Lord to summon out. Okay. Yeah, in that case, we just send Elemental Burst. We summon Lord of Heavenly Prison. We destroy all cards. We have to do that after we summon Lord, obviously, because he would have protected their face down cards. And then we start getting more Eldlich on Engine online. Yeah, they're toast. Yeah, that's kind of showcasing the power of like the 60 card version over the 40 card version because you can do what we just did there. And if we didn't have grass already, we would have been able to search it. Okay, another Snake Eyes Ash. Well, well, well. This last fifth duel is going to be a lot of fun, though. I'm really looking forward to showcasing their deck. Yeah, I have been gone for a little while. I was on vacation, but looking forward to get back into making videos a bit more regularly. We'll see. Something else, another reason. So we're going to get a couple of new cards that are really interesting in a couple of days. So I'm looking forward to making a video relating to those. But for this video, um, I've tried out variants where you just have a very tiny Labrynth package. I tried out variants where you have a massive Labrynth package. And I tried out just like a pure Labrynth, not Labrynth and Eldlich deck. And I'm going to be able to share my thoughts on what I think the optimal versions of each of those ended up being. Uh, the long story short is I still think that Eldlich is preferable in the 60 card version, but there can be some value that you get off of Labrynth as a small package. But if you're going to play Pure Lab, I think you're probably better off just doing the 40 card version. And I'll have a deck list to a really good 40 card version that I'll show later off. All right. Probably just grab. Nice. Okay. So they already activated multiple monster effects to trigger thrust. We're probably just gonna grab grass, hopefully send. Um, oh man, yeah. See, part of my issue is that these are the fun duels, so I always end up sharing them. But it honestly happens so often. Rollback evenly. Goodbye. Oh my gosh. Set a Conquistador. Probably Diabell Star to send the Eldlich. Yep, we got the Omni Negate. Nice. Okay, so now we go from them having a full Snake Eyes board to everything banished face down. We have an Omni Negate, a Torrential, a non-targeting banish, and a non-targeting pop. Assuming they don't have an Ash Blossom, then we would only have two interruptions instead of four. Well, five, because we also probably have another rollback engrave, right? A rollback onto like a Karma Cannon or or a big welcome. Okay. Send a Diabell Star, negate theirs, because they're just going to grab like the normal spell or something. I just don't want to deal with it. Dark? Okay. Yeah, we can just blow everything up. We already used Diabell Star's effect to come back, so we don't really care. Yeah, the only card that they would have searched with Dark is maybe like I don't know. Like sometimes they run Magician Souls, so I felt pretty comfortable just blowing them up, and we still had a bunch more interruptions. They're absolutely done. So notice how powerful being able to send like 25 cards from your deck to the grave was, right? Like we're getting interruptions in the form of our elixir cards, we're getting interruptions in the form of sending a rollback onto an elemental burst or an evenly matched, or we could copy a karma cannon. So now let's take a look at this player's deck. So this player is doing a 60 card Eldlich deck, which it's very cool. Awesome. Love to see Eldlich players doing their thing. Um, However, one thing you'll notice about this deck is that it runs triple reasoning. Okay, sounds fair. I like reasoning in these decks. However, they don't have any copies of rollback, and they don't have like additional traps that they would be able to copy off of a rollback. For example, a torrential tribute or a karma cannon. So they're going to resolve a bunch of reasonings, but they're not going to be able to get the same kind of value off of those that you just saw that we were able to get off of them. They have triple Ash, which I feel like is unnecessary, and a single Fenrir. Like, I don't know why you're doing that. Like, you have reasoning. Theoretically, you want to send as many cards from your deck to the grave as possible. So I would probably run like Backjack instead, but they're also running primarily counter traps, possibly in preparation for the new trap that we're gonna get soon. But so they can negate spells, they can negate monsters. So this ratio is wrong. Solemn Strike is just objectively way better in this format. There are way more monsters that you care about, not nearly as many spell cards that you would need to get rid of. A lot of times spell cards are just kind of extenders, or maybe like a Kashtira Birth, where you can just kind of pop it with an Elder Entity Entis or something. So Solemn Judgment is not as much of a priority as Solemn Strike. Another thing is they have this Omni Negate card, and they run it at 3. I appreciate that you have royal rares of them. That's very cool. However, you probably only need one at most. Especially if you're running triple cursed Eldland. Like triple cursed Eldland gives you the ability to grab an extra golden land forever while also keep your engine alive. Like one big problem with this is it doesn't have the graveyard effect to banish and set a card. So if you waste your, you know, Elixir or I guess your Black Awakening on searching one of these, and your whole chain ends unless you have a second card to keep the chain going. Triple Huaquero, I mean, I can get behind it. There's a lot of grave cards that you want to banish, but triple Elixir of Black Awakening, I don't really buy it. Like, maybe you could have one of these, and it's just as a way to have value off of its graveyard effect, but triple of them, I don't know. I mean, you're running triple Goldland forever, so I guess you do need more of them, but it's just not very good. Like, you activate it on your turn, and it just gets us Eldlich on the field in defense position. Like with an Elixir, at least it's like during your opponent's turn, and you can chain them together so they can't like interrupt with an SP by banishing your Elixir that Eldlich that's already on the field. Also, they're running triple Eldlich. I think you could probably get away. You probably just want two. Like if you have three, that's going to end up being too many in your hand, and they don't have any ways to get them out of your hand other than like sending a spell from hand to grave. Imperm, I don't know if Imperm is really, I mean, they don't really have a lot of other super great interruptions. It's all counter traps, which negate one thing, or Dogmatic of Punishment, which can like get a pop and one other thing, like a pop or a draw or something. Uh, I don't know. They have double rail cannon, which is cool to be able to burn for 2k. But if you're gonna do this route, okay, they do have Juggernaut Lead. That's good. Yeah, so it's a solid extra deck, I guess. Obviously, they are running the Nadir Servant package, which can get value off of things. I might run a Kikalos somewhere in your extra deck because then you can get a mill 5, because sometimes you'll send a Garura and then like if you already used a pot card, Garura won't activate that turn because you're not allowed to draw anymore. So if you want to get more value, you could send like Kit Kalos. But I guess they have Omega, which is the thing they would otherwise send. I don't know. What is this? Okay, it's kind of like a floodgate, but this is really a going first card. Like if you use this going second, like your opponent already has their board set up. So I'm not a big fan of that. Anti-spell fragments, in my experience, this actually does work really well going first and second. It's really good this format. There's a lot of important spell cards you want to stop your opponent from using, so I can get behind that. Overall, you're going to see probably not the most well-constructed deck compared to what it could be. And you'll see why. In particular, the fact that if you're going to do the 60 card mill thing, you really want to take advantage of rollback. Like to me, rollback is kind of a card that gives Eldlich um, its potential because it's already a deck that loves getting its spell cards, or sorry, its trap cards and other cards in the grave. So the fact that we also get like a massive interruption off of sending a rollback to grave is what makes Eldlich more competitive, in my opinion. All right, so they resolve a reasoning. I chose one because I thought they might have like, you know, a backjack because that would be logical. They set an Omni Negate. They get a draw two off of Trap Tantalizing Tune. I still like Trap Tantalizing Tune. They don't have as many normal traps in their deck though, so I feel like it's more likely to not work for them as even like my decks in the past when I was running it more. So they've actually resolved reasoning twice. So you better be getting huge value off of that. Now, to be fair, they are getting a bunch of Golden Land traps and elixirs in the grave, so they do get that part of their engine going. But imagine if they also had a rollback onto like an elemental burst or a torrential or something. All right, so this is really cool. So this is a interesting interaction where, okay, first on their main phase, I use Arius to set a Dogmatic of Punishment, which can be used this turn. They don't have any monsters that I really care about popping. Like I know they probably have an Elixir set somewhere, or an ability to summon out an Eldlich, and they have two of them, so I'm not going to destroy both of them. But they do have an Omni Negate here that they set, so I would like to pop that, and I'll just pop like any random card, like I guess the Dogmatica card. With punishment, send an Entis, pop that card. But the second thing we do is Diabellstar and Labrynth have these interesting synergies. You use Labrynth during the end phase to send a Diabellstar to set a big welcome, and then I activate Diabellstar, and then after I activate Diabellstar, because I sent it, I can activate Punishment. Punishment's going to do the pops, and then basically for free, I also summon out Diabellstar. This is all on their turn. All right, and we get our Labrynth card back. We destroy their Omni Negate, and we get to set an Omni Negate of our own. They have an Elixir. We don't care about that. So they have 4 cards we care about. There's nothing in the grave that's an interruption. They just activate it now, probably as a bait. Send a rollback. Great, so now we can activate punishment and whatever we want. They do have a Solemn Judgment, so that does suck because an interesting synergy here, we use Big Welcome to summon out Lovely, and then Lovely, and then, okay, to summon out Lovely, Big Welcome bounces Diabellstar to hand. We get 1 pop off of the Lovely, and then we can use the Diabellstar in our hand during the main phase 2 to send the Labrynth Chandelier to grave, summon Diabellstar again, grab like, I don't know, the spell card that locks a card in their back row, and we've destroyed another one of their cards, and we still have our Omni Negate going. We got another search. I don't know. So because I really thought that was pretty good synergies, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just roll back, copy Big Welcome, and we'll try again. Unfortunately, they do have the Waquero, so they can banish the target. We're allowed to summon Arius, but it doesn't really help us. We used a punishment last turn, so we can't even do any extra deck plays. So they're in a good spot. They went first. They resolved reasoning twice. You'd expect them to be in a good spot. All right, they're probably going to make SP. So here it's kind of like I can't negate SP with Sinful Spoils of Betrayal, because like I can get rid of the Diabell Star, try to banish her, and then Diabell Star will just like banish and get rid of herself. But obviously, if they tried to negate Diabell Star, we could still do that. Instead, they banish the Arius, so in that case, I do just kind of let the banish go through. So now that they're going to try to destroy Diabell Star, I do activate it to try to like force it out. We also save some life points, but they weren't going to be able to attack us anyways because they activated the card. Whatever. I actually knew that they had Solemn Strike because last turn when I activated Lord of Heavenly Prison, I could feel that they had a response to it, and I'm like, oh, that's probably a Solemn Strike. So not bad. I mean, we don't get get a card that lets we don't get a Wanted, for example, so not bad. Eldlich comes back, indestructible. Him being indestructible is a bit of a pain, and they have another Waquero, and I think I remember counting that they had already had two of their conquistadors. Yeah, they banished two of their conquistadors already, so they have one last conquistador. One Huaquero is banished. Is there another Huaquero in grave? Yep. So this is their last Huaquero, their last conquistador. So they're not getting more interruptions off of their chains now. And otherwise, it's just kind of summoning bodies. So I think maybe their plan was to send Eldur into Tientis and pop grass, but obviously Lord of Heavenly Prison has 3,000 attacks, so that's too much for them to send Eldur into Tientis. But they do get a draw, and I do see that they're running Ash Blossom. And actually, if you look through their grave, they have, let's see, one. Yeah, they just have the one grass, so there's actually a pretty good chance they're able to draw one of their other two copies of grass here. If they did, I would have been so bummed. But they don't. So now let's see what we get value off of. Because grass sends the same number of cards as them, what are we going to get off grass compared to what they got off of double reasoning? Well, first we're going to get a draw one. And I specifically chose to to shuffle back Sinful Spoils because obviously what you would ideally want to do is to send back the Betrayal card because you want to set it again. But I had a feeling they would do this where they try to activate a Waquero to banish it. But now we can banish our Sinful Spoils of Betrayal to negate it. So now it actually goes through and you get a draw. Battle phase, and because we did that, we also baited out their Huaquero so they can't banish the target of our rollback a second time. Banish their entire field face down. I think I sent like every single copy. Yeah, I sent literally every single Eldlich's Golden Land trap to the grave, so I wasn't able to banish a Scarlet Sanguine in order to set like a Conquistador Huaquero, unfortunately, but that doesn't happen very often. Okay, battle phase. Obviously, they're like, okay, I dare you to stop me. I'm like, bet. Blow up everything. We get our chandelier back, mostly just as fuel for things like, you know. So there they do get rid of one of their imperms, which is right. It's the low impact card. Because he's indestructible, I don't bother roll backing onto Elemental Burst yet. We have an elixir, which we can just use as fuel to summon an Eldlich. He's not big enough to beat up their Eldlich yet. We do set a big welcome so we can get out a lady at any point. Okay. Yeah, they send Dogmatic Punishment because obviously he's indestructible. All right, so here they go. Game plan. Activate Rail Cannon. We only have 2,000 life points because we've used rollback twice. Kill us. Fair. However, we have better interruptions in our grave. We have our third rollback, and we could have copied Torrential Tribute, but instead I copy Elemental Burst. And using rollback to copy Elemental Burst actually triggers all of the Labrynth Grave effects, so we're able to summon out a Stovey. Big Welcome triggers Paleozoic Marilla. we get a Labrynth card to hand. Yeah, I think this build ends up being kind of my preferred combination of Labrynth and Eldlich, where the Labrynth package is a bit smaller, uh, but bigger than it could be. So I thought that was a really interesting duel. That actually took like a half hour in real life. I was like, oh, I'll have time for one quick game, and then like I had like an engagement I had to go to in exactly a half hour. So like 29 minutes there. I'm like, oh, this is a really cool game. I want to record it. However, I'm not going to be able to if I can't leave in the next couple minutes. Whatever. So now that we've had a chance to kind of show off what these different variants are capable of, I want to go over what the deck is. So obviously there's pure grass, and then there's the variant that just has a tiny package. So let's do that first. All right, so in this package, it's basically the full normal Eldlich deck. Like Horus, I think, has a better synergy with Eldlich. So Horus and Eldlich, because you can discard rollback using any of the three Imseti cards to get into King Sark, or obviously any three copies of King Sark. So you end up having 6 of the 7 cards in your package that are ways to discard copies of Rollback and Elemental Burst, which you really need in this deck. Like if you're going to run 4 cards, even 6 if you're going first, that you want to get in the grave. Like you just have 0 value going first and you have to get in the grave in order to get value off of them. And I think this is better than what you end up seeing from the Labrynth package. Uh, but basically, it's just we have a single lady. You can summon it from your hand when you activate a Torrential or a Karma Cannon or a Trap Trick or a Marilla or the Sinful Spoils Trap or the Elixir. So there are a bunch of ways to summon her out, and then you've got a card that's untargetable, indestructible, and it's searching your deck for cards that you might want to use. So as just a 1 card engine, I think it's pretty nice. We also can run double Arius, which is basically a way, like you saw a couple duels ago, when you're going second, you can activate a Torrential Tribute or a Karma Cannon during your opponent's turn, which is basically like a total board wipe, especially against Snake Eyes, right? Because you've always seen when we go first, and then our opponent does their full combo, they do absolutely everything, and then they send Flamberge Dragon to the grave to summon 2 monsters. After they do that, we activate a Torrential Tribute or a Karma Cannon or a Trap Trick into one of those 2, wipe them out, and their turn is over. So Arius is great for that. Or if we're going first, we can use Arius as a way to enable us to activate a Trap Trick or an Elixir quickly. And then in the extra deck, I think the only, like, we're also able to make Chaos Angel using, like, Lady Labrynth plus, I guess not with this package. So Chaos Angel is still just a double golden land trap. However, I think so the only extra deck change is I think I got rid of the Link 1 Imduck, and you can throw in a Muckraker, and if you have 2 effect monsters and a discard, then you can grab your lady out of the grave. That's actually kind of a big cost. Like if you look at all of the effect monsters that we're running, they're all like 2,500 attack, 3,000 attack. Like you'd hopefully just be able to kill your opponent. But if you really need to, you can just make a Muckraker if you want to recover your lady. But I think this is a really interesting package, and I'll be trying it more going forward. The second variant I want to go into is the variant I was using in that last duel, where we're going a lot heavier on the Labrynth side of things. So we're also running, instead of running the Horus package, we're doing a couple things. First, we're running Nadir Servant and Dogmatic Punishment and Ecclesia. This is basically, without the Horus package, there's a lot of space in our extra deck. So we get rid of all of the rank 8 monsters that we would normally use. Oh, funny, I'm still running a Zeus even though I don't need to. Probably just like a third Elder Entity Entis. But yeah, you can run this version of the extra deck where you've kind of minimized things quite a bit. You have your Elder Entities that you send off punishment or into your servant, your Bucephalus, which sends a Garura in order to get a draw 1, your Kalos to get a mill 5, Malong to get a bounce, whatever. Um, so changes to the extra deck. And then in the main deck, we're also running a couple copies of Stove of the of the whatever the IKEA furniture cards, as well as a triple Big Welcome. So in this variant, Big Welcome is still an interruption while it's in the grave, right? Like if it's sent to the grave with grass or something, and you have Lady on the field, then this basically becomes a compulsory evacuation device that you can use from the grave to bounce any card on your opponent's side of the field. If you have one of your own lab cards, you can also use it from the grave on your own lab cards, and then you get it back to hand to maybe activate again or to trigger other graveyard labyrinth effects. So it gets a decent amount of value. And because we're not running the Horus package in this variant, we want to have some way of discarding all of these important cards like Rollback, Elemental Burst, and the Chandelier and the Torby give you the ability to do that. So I think this is an interesting variant where you go a little bit heavier on the Labyrinth side of things. The only anti-synergy that I see with something like this is, first of all, Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine does lock you into summoning zombie monsters. So if you activate this earlier in your turn, you can't make a bunch of your other labyrinth related plays. However, Big Welcome does not lock you into anything. So you can activate Big Welcome first and do all your stuff. And then at the end of your plays, you can activate your Elixir. I think it's interesting and worth trying out if you already have the Labrynth cards. Labrynth has a similar playstyle to us. Arguably, they are better because they have a lot more updated cards. In particular, Arius and Lady being able to search or activate any of your traps like on their own is pretty powerful. Yeah, we'll make that change because they just got rid of a Zeus that wasn't supposed to be there. Finally, I want to go over a pure lab version. So I think that you get less value off of these big Triple Tactics Thrust or Lord of Heavenly Prison into grass plays because they don't have as many of the Elixir cards that you can use, um, which get like additional ability to make plays, get bodies on the field, get interruptions by milling a bunch of cards from your deck to the grave. However, they do still have rollback onto Elemental Burst, along with like Paleozoic Marilla, and we're now running 2 copies of each of the um, furniture cards, mostly as ways to discard these cards. And if we're running a 40 card variant, in the upper right hand corner, I'll include a little link here that would send you to a 40 card variant by a YouTuber named Got Haxfu, who I think has probably the best Labrynth builds out there, just like for a pure 40 card trap oriented deck. It's the way to go. If you're running a 60 card variant where you're trying to take advantage of like Elemental Burst and stuff, you could try something like this. We have triple evenly matched. We have double Welcome Labrynth. So if you use this, you cannot summon monsters from the deck or extra deck except fiends, which isn't that bad of a lock. It does mean you can't use your Elixir to summon a zombie from your deck, but if your Eldlich is in your grave or something, you can still use this. And it also doesn't stop you from summoning Lord from your hand. So I think they were getting the right idea of having more minimal locks. And it is a card that you get value off of when you send it to grave with grass, because it does reset itself after you activate one of your lab cards. Just the 1 copy of Lovely to reset your traps. Lovely plus Punishment actually has amazing synergy, because if you activate Punishment, you get 1 pop, and then a second pop from an Elder Entity or like a Malong, and then the third pop from Lovely. And then because you're only attacking your opponent's cards, you can do all of your Labrynth things that recycle cards, draw cards, get cards back from the grave. You've also seen that rollback onto Elemental Burst will also be one of those things where you're only destroying your opponent's cards and you still get to get all the value off of all of your Labyrinth cards doing their thing. So I think this is an interesting deck. I personally enjoy the play style of Eldlich more, but I think there's good experimentation to be done, trying to combine them two or use the best versions of each. Uh, yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video, um, and that I'll see you in the next one, probably in a couple of days, because they have the new let me just quickly show it off in the. Oh no, it's not in the shop. It's in the notifications. So, yep, new selection pack. It's coming on the 10th at like 10 p.m. Eastern time, I think. So Ty-PHON, which is a card that we'll probably use with the Horus package because you use it with an XYZ card that we summoned this turn. Actually, hold on. I haven't played this card yet because I don't play IRL, which is where it's been out longer. Um, one monster you control with the highest attack. Interesting. Okay, so you don't even need to use an XYZ card to summon it. All right, so everyone is going to be using this card, and neither player can activate 3,000 or more. Okay, so that's cool. It's like Inspector Border, basically, but only for really high attack monsters like Baronne de Fleur or Flamberge Dragon, some of the uh, Fire King cards. That's interesting. So we're definitely going to be running at least one of these probably. And then the other card is Iron Thunder. So this is going to be a new Omni Negate we get in like a day or so, depending on when I release this video. It's spell or trap card or monster effect activated on the field. So it is as much of an Omni Negate as the Sinful Spoils trap card because you can't negate cards that in the grave or in the hand. However, it's nice because it's a counter trap and an Omni Negate. It's going to protect us from evenly matched or something like that. However, after we negate the activation and destroy that card, we also destroy other cards in that same column. So I've heard this can actually backfire on you because if they activate, they're evenly matched in the same column as like I don't know, one of your other traps or something, then you are negating their card, but you're also possibly popping one of your own cards, so that can backfire a little bit. But in theory, it could also blow up your opponent's cards. So I think the strategy is going to be to put these in one of the like lined up with the extra monster zones or lined up with opponents' cards you really don't like. For example, like a Kashtira Birth or a Baronne de Fleur or something, so that you can get double value off of it. Going second, it's kind of like a broken line in that way. Yeah, we're definitely going to be trying to run this at least at 2, if not at 3. It'll be worth experimenting with for sure. Anyways, those are just things to look forward to. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the different builds of Eldlich, Eldlich with Flab, Pure Lab, whatever. Have a good one.